The Judicial Branch. The framers intended the Constitution to be the supreme law of the land. That means no other laws or actions by the government or by any state can conflict with the Constitution. Protecting the Constitution is one of the principal responsibilities of the third branch of government, the Judicial Branch. The Judicial Branch consists of the system of federal courts and judges. Article 3 of the Constitution gives the basic framework of the Judicial Branch. It establishes the country's highest court, the Supreme Court. It also gives Congress the power to create inferior or lower courts to meet the nation's needs. In addition to protecting the Constitution, federal courts have the power to resolve disputes that involve national laws, the federal government, or the states. People accused of breaking national laws can be tried in federal courts. Most cases involving federal laws are first heard in district court. The United States is divided into large geographic districts. Each district covers several states. Citizens can appeal decisions given in district court, which means asking a higher court to review the case. Courts that review cases are called courts of appeal or appellate courts. An appellate court only considers whether the original trial was fair and legal. A decision by an appellate court can be appealed to the Supreme Court. The powers of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the last stop in the judicial system. Its decisions are final, and they are binding on all lower courts. The Constitution does not specify the size of the Supreme Court. Congress had set it at 9 members, who are called justices. The Constitution says that all federal judges, including Supreme Court justices, serve for good behavior. Once they are appointed, the justices usually serve on the court for life. A dispute goes directly to the Supreme Court only if it involves a state or an ambassador from another country. Any other case comes to the Supreme Court after a trial and appeal in lower courts. Participants in either national or state courts may eventually appeal cases to the Supreme Court. Every year, lawyers ask the Supreme Court to review thousands of cases, but they agree to consider only about 100. The Supreme Court usually reviews a case only if the justices think that the decision made by a lower court might conflict with the Constitution or a federal law. After hearing statements from both sides, the justices debate among themselves and vote. Supreme Court decisions are announced and explained in writing. These decisions then guide later decisions in lower courts. Early in its history, the Supreme Court defined the power of judicial review. This is the power to decide whether laws and actions by the legislative and executive branches conflict with the Constitution. Courts all over the country rely on the Supreme Court for guidance about what is constitutional. Judicial review gives the Supreme Court great power in its role of protecting the supreme law of the land.